The other piece is what models are available to include in a decision support tool. And there may be some kinds of approaches that you already have or would like to pursue, and may have resources within Continuum or something that you could adapt from outside. So I'd really defer to you on that, and that I'm not going to focus on as part of this talk. There are ways to look at the data sources you use, so you can do, again, literature review, summarize the data, and put it in a pooled analysis, or what I did, which is the clearinghouse approach. I think that's a little bit busy, personally, but it's definitely a consideration in terms of how you display the data. And there are definitely existing literature that you could draw upon in terms of, for what the area I was going to focus on, clinical target volume design, for the neck in particular. There are definitely resources for that, as well as clinical trials, which are of some help, but the RTOG trials are not very specific, defining by TNM stage. So this is an example of what I was currently just working on, which was basically looking at what you could do with tonsillar cancer. And that was basically taking, for each T and N stage, you can see T1, T2, N0, looking at which portion of the neck would you treat both by ipsilateral, contralateral. You could give dose for the gross tumor volume as well, and look at then seeing that move up incrementally by stage. Now again, this is just what I've looked at and reviewed from some of those articles I listed above. But one could argue that this is not the best approach. It's one of the reasons that I came to you to discuss further, to see if there's a better way to make sure this is evidence-based and appropriate. But you can do this basically for each and every disease subsite. Excel is not the best tool. You can do this in a relational database, but this is what I had to work with, at least to start looking at this. Now, as I mentioned, not all models will necessarily give you the same results. This is reviewing information from prostate cancer, that if you look at the D'Amico clinical risk groups compared to the Catan nomograms, they don't always line up, so what you use really will determine, in some cases, the results that you may get from the output, depending upon how you enter the data you start with. This is probably more relevant to internal data that you have access to all the variables for. Nonetheless, it may be relevant in terms of how you look at pursuing this. Now this is what I really want to focus on, because this is more my area of interest, and not expertise, but what I've got more familiarity with, which is the user interface. Really, you want to make sure that you're able to meet whoever your users are needs, and that key data can be entered in a short time frame, that you have a well-designed dashboard that displays information that you want them to have, and ways to navigate around to the areas that are relevant to them. And that really, when you look at what's going to be most helpful for anybody using this going forward, it's going to be that it's available on multiple platforms, whether it's a desktop computer or mobile computers, whether that's a cell phone or something else. Also, HIPAA compliance is important, so this should not be something that likely is used for direct entry of individual patients' data, but instead would be something that would be really more relevant to someone entering information, getting a readout, and then being able to look at it that way. I think HIPAA compliance is going to be a critical component of this regardless.